The night air in Brooklyn was thick with the smell of rain and old brick. Streetlights flickered over puddles that mirrored the neon glow of late-night diners and convenience stores. For most people, it was just another quiet weekday evening. But for Elena Russo, it was another night of exhaustion, worry, and responsibility. Elena was a single mother of one, her 8-year-old son, Luca. Since her husband died 3 years ago in a construction accident, life had been a constant uphill climb. Bills piled up faster than paychecks, and sleep had become a luxury she could rarely afford. That night, she had just finished her late shift cleaning offices downtown. Her uniform smelled faintly of bleach and lemon disinfectant. The bus ride home had taken longer than usual, and by the time she stepped onto her street, it was nearly midnight. She clutched the grocery bag in her hand tightly. Inside were the basics: bread, milk, and a small chocolate bar she had bought for Luca as a surprise. Just a little longer, she whispered to herself. Life wasn't perfect, but she was doing her best. As she walked past an alley between two old brick buildings, voices echoed from the darkness. Normally, Elena would have kept walking. In Brooklyn, you learn quickly not to pay attention to strangers talking in dark alleys. But something stopped her. The language. Italian. Her father had been born in Naples, and while she had grown up mostly speaking English, Italian had always been part of her home. The sound of it was familiar, warm, musical. But the tone of these voices was anything but warm. They sounded tense. Dangerous. Elena slowed her steps without meaning to. Domani notte, quando sale in macchina. Tomorrow night, when he gets into the car. Another voice replied, quieter but sharper. Il capo non sospetta nulla. The boss suspects nothing. Elena's heart skipped. She froze. The boss. Even someone who lived far from crime circles knew what that meant in certain neighborhoods. She carefully stepped closer to the edge of the alley, her breathing shallow. 2 men stood under a dim light, their faces partially hidden by shadows. Both wore dark jackets and expensive shoes that reflected the streetlight. They didn't look like ordinary men hanging around late at night. One of them continued speaking. Quando gira la chiave, boom. Finito. When he turns the key, boom. Finished. Elena's stomach dropped. They were planning to kill someone. The second man laughed quietly. Domani la famiglia sarà nostra. Tomorrow the family will be ours. Elena suddenly understood. This wasn't just any murder. It was betrayal. A mafia betrayal. Her mind screamed at her to leave. Walk away. Pretend you heard nothing. But her feet refused to move. Because the men kept talking. And what she heard next made her blood run cold. Il capo Vittorio non vedrà mai il mattino. Boss Vittorio will never see the morning. Elena's eyes widened. Vittorio. Even she knew that name. Vittorio Moretti. One of the most powerful crime bosses in the city. A man surrounded by bodyguards, loyalty, and fear. And yet, these 2 men were planning to blow up his car. Her hands began to shake. If they saw her listening. She swallowed hard and quietly stepped back from the alley. Slowly. Carefully. But suddenly. A bottle rolled across the pavement near her foot. Clink. The sound echoed loudly in the silence. The voices in the alley stopped. Elena's heart pounded violently. Hai sentito? Did you hear that? Footsteps. Coming toward the entrance of the alley. Elena didn't think. She ran. Her shoes slapped against the wet sidewalk as panic surged through her body. She turned the corner of the street and kept walking fast, forcing herself not to look back. Her mind raced. What had she just heard? A murder plot. A mafia betrayal. And she was now the only outsider who knew. When she finally reached her apartment building, she leaned against the wall and tried to steady her breathing. "Mom?" The soft voice came from the doorway. Luca stood there in his pajamas, rubbing his sleepy eyes. "You're late." Elena forced a smile. "Just work, baby." He hugged her tightly. And in that moment, fear gripped her heart stronger than before. Because she knew something terrible. If those men discovered she heard them, her son could lose his mother too. That night, Elena barely slept. The words echoed in her mind over and over. "When he turns the key, boom." She stared at the ceiling as rain tapped softly against the window. Should she call the police? But what would she say? That she overheard two unknown men in an alley speaking Italian about a mafia boss? The police would ask questions. Questions she couldn't answer. And if the wrong people heard she had talked? She shivered. No. The police couldn't protect her from the mafia. But doing nothing meant a man would die tomorrow. Elena turned her head toward Luca sleeping peacefully in the small bed beside hers. He needed her. She couldn't take risks. But something deep inside her refused to stay silent. By morning, she had made a decision that would change her life forever. She would warn him. Not the police. Not anyone else. She would warn the boss himself. Even if it meant stepping into the most dangerous world imaginable. Because tomorrow night, someone was planning to kill Vittorio Moretti. And Elena Russo was the only person who knew. Before we continue the story, imagine being in Elena's position. Would you stay silent, or risk everything to stop a deadly betrayal?